Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi, folks. Welcome back. And those of you that are new, welcome. Well, here we go. The Republicans caved as usual. Johnson unveils new plan to avoid shutdown. That's a government shutdown, like who cares? Amid tension in GOP, scraps Trump-backed election measure. This vote is tentatively expected by Wednesday because they have to get it by September 30th at midnight. The fiscal year starts October 1. Now, what shock? What shock? It's amazing to me. Speaker Michael Johnson, Republican of Louisiana, I had high hopes for him, even though he's a pussy, unveiled a new plan for avoiding a partial government shutdown on Sunday after a House GOP rebellion derailed the more conservative measure last week. Oh, they're going to blame it on the more conservative people in the Republican majority. Yeah, okay. House leaders are aiming for a vote this week in a short-term extension of the current year's funding levels, calling a continuing resolution. They call them CRs. If you ever see a congressman say CR, they give Congress negotiators more time to hash out federal spending and a new fiscal year beginning October 1. Well, you know what? In all fairness, F them. Let it go. Let it go down. I remember the 2 or 3 times in my lifetime when they had a government shutdown, I didn't even notice. Didn't even notice. And that stuff about people won't be getting their Social Security payments or checks when the government shut down is a lie. Is a lie. They still get it. It must pass the House and Senate by the end of the day, September 30th, to avoid a shutdown. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who's my senator, and I say that with no pride, signals the plan had bipartisan support in both chambers. I love that when the Democrats go, well, there's 3 Republicans out of the almost 200 in the House that are going along with it. So that's a bipartisan vote. That's absolute bullshit. It's amazing to me. A new measure close in line with what the Senate Democrats and the White House had called for. This plan, his first plan, is likely to spark fury among the ultra-conservative House Freedom Caucus. Likely to spark fury, which means they don't like it, but they might hold their nose and vote for it anyway. Most Republicans are wary of the political fallout of failure just weeks before Election Day. Now, that's the thing. It's a calculated risk. With a few weeks until election in the House, a third of the Senate and the presidency coming up November 5th. Well, actually, it's been going along for a while. Early voting has already started, which is absolute BS. Will that hurt our chances for the presidency? And more important, in their world, the House of Representatives. Will some close districts, like the one I live in, Mark Molinaro currently holds a seat because the Democrat in Albany gerrymander the districts in upstate New York, anything above New York City I call upstate, so badly that this district what I was in, I live in Binghamton, New York, which is in Broome County, which is right in the center of upstate New York, right above the Pennsylvania line. They gerrymandered it so badly that Claudia Tenney, our prior congressional member, now is up towards the Buffalo area, and this is basically a purple/swing district. So a lot of the Republicans have to walk the walk. Very fine line. They can't show their real conservative views because they need to win every 2 years. So you have to measure that in the House. Now, I consider Johnson a pussy. The last 2 of them were, to be honest with you. So what do? You know, remember when you were a kid in school and you had a real crappy teacher and you said, boy, I wish they would replace that person, and they did, and the person was worse? Well, that's what happened in the speakership. But I digress. You have to measure that. You must be some internal polling or whatever they do it. They found out, or at least in Johnson's mind, that shutting the government down would hurt the Republicans more than it would hurt the Democrats. So this is why he did it. Now, I think it's ridiculous. I think the SAFE Act is in there, by the way. For those of you that are wondering if it's just about the budget, the SAFE Act is in there, and most of that was completely dismantled or thrown out. Johnson took a swipe at the upper chamber for failing to pass a single one of their 12 appropriation bills, writing to House GOP colleagues on Sunday that because Senate Democrats failed to pass a single appropriations bill or negotiate with the House on an acceptable top-line number for fiscal year 2025, a continuing resolution, a CR, is the only other option that remains. Well, that's actually true, too. But here's the thing. The Democrats in the Senate, who he's chastising now, it's 50-50, and Vice President Harris, who would be the tie breaks, you might as well say they have 51. He's right, but the Democrats in the Senate know that he's a pussy, and he'll cave. The Democrats are looking at the Senate map, which every 2 years, a third of the senators come up for re-election, a brilliant plan from the founders. Instead of all of them, just a third every 2 years of their 6-year terms. That way you don't get a whole ton of change too quick. They see they're going to lose the majority, just a matter by how many Senate seats. And they're saying to Johnson, F you. We're going to call your bluff. We're going to play a game of chicken. And you're a pussy, and you'll kowtow first. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. It would include more money for the Secret Service, so they're going to say, well, it's the Republicans that voted against Secret Service protection for their hero, Donald Trump. Blah, 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 blah. But here is what they really and truly wanted out. Let's tell the truth here. Perhaps the most significant change is the removal of the safeguarding of the American voter eligibility, the SAVE Act. A bill requiring proof of citizenship in the voter registration process. That's why the Democrats said, hey, Johnson, you're a pussy. We want this out. And he caved. He caved. Unbelievable. Johnson hoped that attaching it to his CR would force the Democratic-controlled Senate and White House, both of which are called a non-starter, to consider it, or at least it would serve as a potent opening salvo in negotiations. Now, what would happen, even if it passed, we'll say somehow it got through the Senate, Biden would veto it. Well, that's on them. That's on them. I don't know. You know, I'm not a big fan of Johnson. I think he's a pussy. I think Jim Jordan would be a better speaker. But we'll see. We'll see. Trump wrote on Truth Social, Republicans don't get the SAFE Act, and every ounce of it, they should not agree to a continuing resolution in any way, shape, or form. Now, remember, there's an interview with a CNN girl that's supposedly a town hall meeting. Remember that one where CNN looked like dopes? Of course, it's easier for them. Why were you for shutdown now, but you weren't when you were president? And Trump turned around and smiled, well, because now I'm not president. And everybody laughed. Well, he's right. Our legislation will be very narrow, bare-bones CR, including all the extensions that are absolutely necessary. But absolute total bullshit. We're trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. It's a lie. Well, this is not the solution any of us prefer. Yeah, what a good negotiation. I guess technically that's right when you have negotiations on two different sides, which everybody's mad. It's a true negotiation, but the Dems aren't mad. The Dems got what they wanted. They got to spend money like whenever they want to. They don't give a damn about taxpayers. It's just incredible to me. All the IRS agents. And by the way, Kamala Harris got endorsed by the union in the IRS. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure out what's going to happen with that. A history has taught in current polling affirms that's what I think happened in internal polling. Shutting the government down with less than 40 days from a fateful election would be an act of political malpractice. Now, who is against the shutdowns? People that are receiving federal money or working Americans? I got nothing against retired people. I'll be 68 in a couple of months, so I'm right in that boat too. Even it's amazing to me. Government funding has been one of the most volatile fights in the 118th Congress, pitting even the most conservative House allies against each other. Johnson's new plan is not likely to abate those tensions. Critics of a CR through December have argued it would leave them with no choice but to group their 12 annual appropriations bills into a massive omnibus spending bill something nearly all Republican lawmakers oppose. So we'll kick the can down the road until December, and then we'll figure it out. Well, as you kick the can down the road, just like with the budget and the deficit, it makes your options less and less and less. But House GOP leadership suggested it was more likely Congress would pass another CR. Yeah, of course. Matt Gaetz is right, and I didn't know this until the last year or so. They haven't really passed a budget. They just passed a continuing resolution for decades. Trump allies, however, wanted to see the government funding fight kicked into the new year in hopes it would win the White House and usher a fully Republican Congress. Well, they can do that. I don't know what I would do if I was Johnson. And then after Chuck Schumer, that piece of garbage, who's my senator in New York, took a swipe at Johnson for trying to pass his conservative CR last week. Well, I am pleased bipartisan negotiations quickly led to a government funding agreement free of cuts and poison pills. Poison pills? Making sure you're an American citizen before you vote is a poison pill? And no cuts, of course, so we can run the deficit up even higher. Anybody that's right now 40 years old and younger should be furious because the bulk of that money they're spending they don't have, they're going to pay for. Instead, Speaker Johnson chose to follow the MAGA way and wasted precious time. Who gives a shit about precious time? Waste time on what? What are we going to do anyway in that time period? Nothing. If both sides continue to work in good faith, I am hopeful that we can wrap up work on the CR this week. Good faith? You told Johnson, F you, and he caved. Because the Democrats know if Trump wins on the national level, they're finished. Oh, maybe some states and maybe counties and local municipalities. I used to be a local city councilman. Things are much different at the local level than they are in Washington. But nationally, as a party, they don't win the White House this time, they're finished. And like anything that's facing elimination or dying, they will do anything, and I mean anything, as we've seen, to not let that happen. It's up to the American people, but I'm afraid it's going to take more than that. I can't say anything on this website because they won't allow it, but we'll see if a lot of the things that happened in the past happened in this election. One could only pray. And I want to make to the evangelicals out there, the very devout Christians, devout Catholics, as well as gun owners. My understanding is those groups vote in very small percentages. 75, 80% don't vote. You don't use it, you lose it. If you evangelicals and gun owners aren't in the 90-something percentile this time for voting, the Democrats will take over, and they will wipe out your religious rights, and they'll wipe out the Second Amendment. Make no mistake. So there you have it. Did Johnson do the right thing? I'll let you guys decide that. Sometimes I'm too opinionated here, and people criticize me for that. We'll let you decide. Put in the comments whether you think Johnson made a decent deal to save the election for the Republicans or not. Sorry I haven't been around in a while. I've had some health issues, and I'm working on them, and they're very painful, and I'm trying to get through it, but, it's got to be tough. I'm come from an old school Italians. And we're not made out of stone. We're made out of granite. So I'm doing the best I can in very difficult circumstances. But I just wanted to let you know I'm still around. And I'm still right in the fight, even though I'm a small channel. But I've always got 14,000 subs now. That's amazing for a little guy like me. And I want to thank all of you for your support. And until the next time, God bless. Goodbye, and good luck.